Dude from UPS still making orders at 9:30 at night. Nah, I just think about this. Just got through watching a YouTube video where I watched this guy that does the 18th century cooking. He's making stoves and stuff and cooking. He was cooking burgoo and hardtack and had a really good baked beans recipe. There's a lot of assholes out here. And he's cooking some kind of dessert called the Orange Fool. And it just happened to be around the 4th of July. A lot of people made comments. And it upset the guy. And it is kind of a shame, man. Like, you can't even, like, there's no escape from the bullshit. Like, I kind of, you know, I side with him. He was saying, I'm blessed to do this show. I gleaned from it that he's kind of center right. But still, all he is a guy who likes to reenact. That's his escapist fantasy. You know, and I'm glad to see him doing his hobby, and it's kind of cool, and I gleaned some information from it. And it is unfortunate that even a place like that, even something like that couldn't escape. Couldn't escape the miasma of stupidity that just seems to surround the country. I started watching about 4 or 5 of his videos, and I just had to click the subscribe button. I guess it makes me think about how things are going now. Like, I don't even watch regular TV, I don't read the news. But what I do is sometimes I get sometimes what I do is I find myself watching a ton of YouTube videos. What's the guy named JX8? Jimmy High Roller or something like that. Basically the ultimate NBA sports fan. One of the ultimate NBA sports fans. He makes his own little shows. Uses a lot of good stats to prove his arguments, or his points and arguments. And this is just some guy making this stuff on YouTube. And this stuff's just about as good as something you would watch from ESPN 30 by 30. Or what's that show used to come on? The reason you can't blame blank for blank. You know, they did a show, you can't blame Jerry Jones for the demise of the Cowboys. I was like, the hell I can't. But then they get up there and they make their arguments. It wasn't him that did this, it wasn't him that did that. That's my take on the Cowboys as a person who watches the team. A person who watched the team and grew up in this area. I said it 1,000 times, maybe I said it on camera. The problem I have with the Dallas Cowboys is they're a stupid football team. Very talented, but very stupid. Dallas Cowboys on paper can beat any team in the NFL. The only team they lose to on a weekly basis is the Dallas Cowboys. When they're not shooting themselves in the foot, they win a lot of games. But when your game plan for the last 20 years is we're going to spot the other team 10 points and they're going to play catch up, that's a sign of a stupid football team. Just giving stuff away. Makes them hard to watch. And now that I can't get the NFL on internet, I don't watch them at all. It was the politics thing. It was the but mostly I just got tired of the NFL's greed. I watch a college football game on ESPN because I got a subscription with DirecTV. Or I don't have it, but someone I know does. There's a lot of assholes out here, man. It's Thursday, 9:30, almost 10 o'clock. And I can never figure out why there's so much traffic. I mean, are people coming home from work? Liquor stores close at 9. So what is it? Anyway, my folks have DirecTV. I live with my folks. So I get ESPN. I get to watch college football on ESPN. When there's a game that isn't on there, I can just go on YouTube and I can watch a condensed version of the game and I get it knocked out in 15-30 minutes. I'll watch like 10 games. Can't do that with the NFL. And I did try it the legal way. And I'm too lazy to do it the illegal way. But the legal way I used to doing it, I had the NFL replay. Because I'm asleep when the games are on. I'm asleep when the games are on, and so I would try to watch the replay whenever I got a chance, like late at night or sometimes in the afternoon when I woke up, or in the evening when I wake up. And then they had this stupid rule: if there's a game on, you can't watch NFL replay while that game is on. You need to go watch our broadcast game. I'm like, fuck you, NFL. I don't want to watch San Francisco play San Diego at 9 o'clock at night. I just don't. Too bad. Because you can't watch that Dallas game until this game's over. So I said, to hell with it. I'm paying $50 for the service, and I can't dictate when I can watch it. What kind of stupid mess is that? NBA. There's all sorts of dumb rules. There's even a lot of assholes coming down this street. Anyway, there's a lot of stupid rules. I was thinking about my mother's getting tired of DirecTV costing her damn near $200 a month. She's like, what can we do? And I'm like, how do you explain to somebody who isn't tech savvy cord cutting? Someone who's used to a cable box that idiot proofs everything, and you just grab a remote control and flip up and down. But I mean, they figured out the guides, and those are complicated. And my dad even figured out the DVR, which shocked me. So I guess they can figure out a new technology. It's gonna be a wicked learning curve. And then I'm sitting here reading about, yeah, if you like live sports, you won't be able to watch the TV. You won't be able to watch the broadcasts because of the stupid blackout rules. I was like, okay. Like, it sucks being a Mavericks fan, and you got over-the-air. If you watch over-the-air TV. Damn near a decade ago now. They made it to where they show their games only on Fox Sports Network. And it's not a big deal if you got cable, because if you got cable, that comes bundled with everything. You get Fox Sports Southwest whether you want it or not. But if you're a regular follower of the team, and if you're a fan of the team and you're trying to watch it on regular over-the-air TV or channels, local cable channels won't carry it. Every once in a while, Mark Cuban throws people a bone, and they used to broadcast the games on Channel 21. I don't know if they still do that. They got unwatchable, so I stopped watching them even on Fox Sports Southwest. But even as bad as that is, the NBA will still kind of help out fans. You can watch a few things on YouTube. Or the sports leagues seem to have their act together. NFL, they got a stupid problem. They're stuck in their same stupid, stubborn ways. And every year I'm sitting there reading articles about, yeah, the NFL keeps losing viewers. I don't think professional sports in about 10-20 years I don't think in 10 or 20 years professional sports is going to exist in the way we know it now. But hey, I never expected the streaming thing to turn out as stupid as it did. I honestly did not expect all of these media companies to go out and try to make their own streaming sites. And I'm kind of laughing because it's like, I keep thinking it's going to be a screw up at first. You know, to give you an idea, Fox Sports Go still uses Flash. And the reason they have to keep using Flash is because of some contract that they have to wait until it expires. Everybody else on the internet using HTML5. These idiots are still using Flash. And heaven help you if your Flash isn't working quite right. You have no other option. And so I kind of expected something like that. It'd be a lot of these idiots are still running Flash players, or some obsolete players, or they don't have enough streaming servers. And I guess Netflix and Amazon kind of laid the groundwork, so now streaming services aren't as bad as they used to be. So I guess any Tom, Dick, and Harry can launch their own streaming site. I don't know if Disney Plus and all these other people are using Amazon Web Service or what. I just know that they say they got their own streaming services. And I'm hoping they fail. Because I don't think they'll be very good at caring about if the streaming comes in good or well, or if you can search the catalog very easily. They don't innovate. They just copy what everyone else is doing. That's why I hope they fail. Netflix at least innovates. At first I hated their player, and then after a while their player got almost as good as VLC or what was the other one I used to use? SM player used to be. Hit the F key on the keyboard, it goes full screen. You press back and forth arrows, it'll skip back and forth a few seconds here and there. Netflix has developed into a salvageable player. But then I look at something like Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll's player still needs some work. Oh, Crunchyroll itself still needs some work. Sometimes saving favorites is a pain in the ass. Sometimes they do server updates in the middle of the night and suddenly you can't access anything. And the biggest problem I have with their player is if I want to skip ahead an episode or skip back or go back an episode, there's nothing on the button, there's nothing on the controls that let me do that. I actually have to kind of minimize it, go to the little thing there, and then try to skip back and forth that way. Netflix, there's a button. Skip ahead, sure. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, you seen this already? Okay. There's a 10-second forward button and a 10-second backward button. They even got cute and they put the, what's that new thing they got in there? It says skip intro. I'm spoiled on that now. You're binge watching something, you just hit that button. It's like, let's get into it. Crunchyroll, I'm hitting the keyboard 15 times. Every time. 2-minute intros with J-pop songs. Get tired of that. But unfortunately, that's how the other streaming services are probably going to be as well. I don't like Hulu because Hulu just seems bound and determined that they've got to have ads in their video. Like they can't get away from it. They have a slavishly stupid devotion to putting ads in their content. I was like, if I could afford to borrow a car, if I could afford to buy the cars you sell on your ads, I probably wouldn't have to do streaming video on Hulu. I'm paying you $20 a month and I'm still seeing ads. Anyway, I don't have a Hulu account, but I was just reading about people and all the horror stories they tell me. YouTube. Once I put ad blocker on there, YouTube, I know that one day they're going to get around that, but for right now they just like they accept it. I was like, whatever. The internet is starting to suck. On the rare occasions where I do want to kind of indulge in some confirmation bias or just do some research on something on the news sites, instantly this thing comes up and says, "You're using an ad blocker, turn it off." Like, no. They're like, well, we need to run ads so that we can pay for this. I was like, I understand that. I said, but you lost that right with me when the ads started interfering with my ability to get to the news. It's fine when the ad's a banner, a little ubiquitous banner that stays out of the way. It's not fine when all of a sudden it's a video player that keeps sucking up my bandwidth, and I'm sitting there trying to click around, and I click around and something else pops up in its place. It's not that I don't like ads. I don't. It's that I don't like the way that ads take away from the functionality of what I'm trying to. All I'm trying to get is information, and you're bombarding me with shit. That's what it is, man. Dating sites with girls with big boobs. I'm like, you're not gonna get that girl. White slavery sites. RussianBrides.com. I was like, okay. Hey, you'll never believe what happened to this celebrity. Hey, you'll never believe how little I give a shit. I really don't care that Mickey Rourke destroyed his face with plastic surgery. Mickey Rourke's got other problems besides that. I really don't care how to save money on insurance in Texas, because I know you just shop around, but it gets annoying. I'm very happy with the insurer I got. I don't need you sending me ads about the latest homeopathic whatever, or I boil a pot of bananas and somehow it's supposed to clean me out. I don't care about any of that. I eat beans. I'm cleansed enough. You go on YouTube and you click on one thing and you're watching Jimmy X High Roller going about some NBA. Like, that's why I call him Ultimate Sports Fan. I was just laughing about that, because he's the dude sitting at the bar and you get into an argument with him. But what he does is he pulls out these nice stats, and he had a saxophone riff in the background. And I got hooked on his stuff for a while. Then I discovered nerdcore rapping, nerdcore music. And I was listening to Megaran for a while. And like I said, now I discovered this guy with 18th century cooking. So I mean, if Netflix goes up in price one more time, I'll cancel it and I'll probably go with YouTube. I'll pay money for a subscription every month to YouTube, just because I believe that much in the site. It's like, you could buy stock. I was like, I'd have to buy stock in Google, and that's $1,000 a share. I ain't got that kind of money. But I know that's what's going to happen eventually. One day I'm just going to be getting on YouTube and they said, we detect that you have an ad blocker. Turn this off, otherwise you won't be able to watch YouTube videos. And you'll be like, all right, you can pay this much money and you don't have to get any ads. And I'll be, all right. It's like Netflix, I got to cancel it. YouTube no longer works with the ad blocker. Would I ever stop watching YouTube? Yeah. Yeah, if YouTube did that, I'd probably stop watching YouTube. I mean, there's a lot of shit going on right now. It's 9:30 at night. Maybe I need to move to. Maybe I need to move to that podunk city in Iowa. Nah, you're not leaving. What I love about a city is that there's so much shit going on that the police don't have time to deal with anything small or petty. And so you really, like, there's a really kind of a libertarian thing that goes on in a big city with pretty high crime. And that is, you're left to your own devices. You know, in Dallas there's a police presence, but it's very light. And so that's why I stick around. I stick around because there's jobs, money, and very little government interference. But if you ain't got a job in Dallas, I don't see how you can make it. This city's expensive. And there is no help. Part of that, you know, the government doesn't interfere with you. It also means the government doesn't help you, because you're in Texas. Anyway, not leaving. Although sometimes I think about it, man. Dude was making, he says, yeah, you gotta come. He says, I'm from Missoula, Montana. And I'm like, Missoula, Montana, huh? I was like, I start changing my series. It's Boring Missoula. There's an episode where I'm walking through the snowbanks. All of a sudden I come up on a boost. I don't think I can do with cold weather. I said yesterday that I've got almost a reptilian metabolism. To me and cold weather climates don't mix. That's where I'm hoping that this idiot doesn't have his lights on. That's why I'm hoping in the future there might be some technology for gene splicing. I was like, if I'm going to move to the northern climate, I'm going to go ahead and get myself spliced with some fur. And they give me the injection, and next thing you know, I've got brown fat and fur. Of course, that means I had to start hibernating. That was the other thing he was talking about. He's like in Missoula, Montana. Now, he was telling me this stuff, and it sounded like it was a Missoula from like 10, 20 years ago. If I could talk to somebody from there now, and they're like, oh, it's nothing like that now. It's like, it's kind of like where you're living at. I was like, ah, shit. I was like, I don't want Dallas and cold weather. So, he was like, he said, man, he said at a certain point, Missoula just slows down. It has to. Because it's cold weather, and the weather forces everything to slow down. And I was like, man, what would that be like? I mean, that's what I hate about America, is the 24/7, 365. And the reason I can't like anything is because there are times when the 24/7, 365 would be a benefit to me, but it's not. Right now, the liquor stores are closed. The places that I would like to shop at, they closed a couple of hours ago. So 24/7, 365 does me no good. Meanwhile, I'm out here talking to myself, and I hear people's cars coming every 5 minutes. I'm like, where do you assholes have to go at 9:30 at night when all the stores are closed and liquor stores are closed? And I'm thinking, I guess Deep Ellum and the bars are this way. But I was thinking that's all on Harry Hines. You keep going down this way and you're gonna hit Mockingbird eventually. And I guess Mockingbird will take you to all those. We'll go downtown also. YouTube. I told someone, I said, you know, YouTube, a lot of assholes, man. I was like, you could pretty much just, sometimes that happens to me. Like, I'll go in there clicking on one thing, and then another thing comes up, then another thing comes up. Next thing you know, 2 hours is gone watching YouTube videos. And one of the reasons we can't cut the cord is my dad watches Westerns. And I'm like, well, how are we going to get around that? I was like, none of these streaming services seem to have Encore Western. They do, but it's like $90 a month. In other words, you're just paying for a cable bundle and then getting your cable over the internet. But then I'm sitting there looking at YouTube, and there's like whole seasons of Westerns on YouTube. I was like, this can't be legal. I was thinking, well, who's going to come after him? I was like, I don't know. Somebody's going to clamp down on this, though, right? So far, no. Like, the problem is, oh, is that where I was supposed to go? No. The problem was that like, you can't watch the entire run. He watches the Virginian. You can't watch the entire run of the Virginian. For some reason, like, the first 2 seasons are missing from it, and then there's scattered episodes of different other seasons. But he could start adapting to the point where he just watches. He's like, yeah, I was watching this on YouTube. How do I find this again? That would be annoying. Wait a minute, I need your help finding this thing on YouTube. But he probably started loving it. He started finding all the religious nuts on YouTube. You know, Jimmy Swaggart guys and all these other guys. And it's like, you know, this guy, I didn't even know he was still preaching. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, I found him on YouTube. And I was like, yeah. I used to love his sermons. Like, yeah, well, you can watch him now. But I can never get that dedicated to YouTube where I can start making my own videos and having a channel and all that shit. Like I said, what I do is dirt simple. All I do is toss it into the tossed it into, what's the name of that program I use? Oh, what's the name of it? It's called AVI something. No, I'm sorry, it's called, what is it called? Anyway, it's the thing that you can get on Linux. Dump all my videos into it, splice them together, chop them up how I want to, take the sound out. And then I just post that mess up on YouTube. I made it public because someone was saying, hey, I get 1 or 2 people, well, show me that video. And rather than just having them share a link, I say, look, just put in Boring Dallas, it'll be there. I never expected anybody to watch any of this. I never even expected comments. I'm not saying I'm famous or anything, I'm just saying it shocks me what people will watch on YouTube. But I once read this thing, an article, they were saying there was this guy who has video, like there are people who are purposely searching for boring video. Like this, that's their entertainment, is being bored. And so they, no, I'm just like, hot pink, really? It's kind of neat, but at the same time it seems kind of vain. The HOA will never stand for this. I don't think there's an HOA in this neighborhood. There might be. Anyway, boring videos of me just rambling on about stuff that I know nothing about. Talk about politics. Everybody talks about how they want to save the world. And I read and I study more. And when I studied Tai Chi, that was one of the things. I always talk about the I Ching and Taoism. And true wisdom comes when you come to the understanding in your life that you know nothing. I know that I know nothing. That is the sign of a truly wise man. Is you have to constantly humble yourself and be willing to start from ground zero with what you know or what you think you know. A great example is that I'm reading an article about PEDMOS or BODMOS, or please hear your Aunt Sally. I was taught in school the order of operations. I never questioned it. I was like, this is the way you do it, and I felt smug and superior, and I was like, yeah, that's how you solve that problem. And then the internet started posting these equations, these ambiguous equations, and they're like, well, when will we ever use this? Kind of find out that in my field, computer programming, you use it a lot. So you do have to be careful with how you put your order of operations in, what you intended to put in there, and what actually gets put in there, what the computer interprets. There's always at least one asshole. Is that Murphy's Law or something? It should be my law. Wayman's Law. When planning, there's always at least one asshole, so plan accordingly. Another one of my rules is the 10,000 idiot rule. If there's something you want, 10,000 idiots will want it as well. And so you have to account for the 10,000 idiots. If there's a woman you like, 10,000 idiots like that woman too. If there's a show you like, 10,000 idiots like that show. If there's a job you're fighting for, 10,000 idiots will be fighting for that same job. You have to be better, or you have to make a decision whether you want to put the energy in to fight those 10,000 idiots. And since population growth has gone about, I have had to keep expanding the rule. And now it's a million idiot rule. The girl I like, a million idiots will like that same girl. Your competition is always going to be a million idiots. Plan accordingly. Anyway, that's the thing about knowledge. It's so dynamic now. I'm telling everybody, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And there's tons of mathematicians, and the bottom line is the rest of the world says, look, division before multiplication. Can we all just agree on this? And the rest of the world said, yeah, and the United States says, no, that's not the way we do it. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And I was like, you know what, ignore the United States. And then the United States eventually has to acquiesce. And so we start learning BODMAS. Brackets, operands, division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. And so that's the way I'm going with it. Until one day some guy comes up with a new rule that says, look, let's just not do it like any of these systems anymore. I was like, fine, whatever. So when I'm sitting here talking to myself, I'm waiting for a comment from somebody yell at me and say, well, you're a fucking idiot. Or some guy that says, you know, I never thought of it that way. Or the discussion starts. You know, you just meet people in weird ways. Plus to let people know that just because you see me dedicated out here every day exercising, I don't have it all together. I'm talking to myself in the middle of the dark, in the middle of the night in the dark in a neighborhood. Maybe you shouldn't take everything I do as biblical, you know, stature or something. I am not the law. I am not the final say. I'm a dude making exercise videos, and every once in a while mumbling to myself because I'm soundboarding. Does this sound as stupid in my head as it does out loud? And I was like, you know what? That sounds like a good idea in my head. It usually does. But when your ears hear it, you're like, oh shit. I was like, there's a crazy person talking here. I was like, the crazy person is me. So it keeps me sane, and it keeps me centered, and it keeps me humble. You know, they're just incontrovertible facts that I've had to accept in the last 10, 12 years. One of the things I'm grappling with, reading newspaper articles, and it's how white supremacy is ingrained in America. It's part of the Constitution. And so to make it like that's gone away, when the very bones of your society is formed on that principle, is disingenuous and folly. I understand it from the other point of view. It's like, well, look, that's like the founding fathers were all white guys. It's kind of hard to say that white guys shouldn't have the say when the white guys are the ones who formed it in the first place. It's like, I get all that. But I guess what we need to start getting people to admit in America is it's been 300 years. It's time for a reboot or a re-examination of what we do. We do that for the economy. Why don't we do that for the society and for the government and the laws? You know, why do I have 1,000 laws in the books for horses still? When the only people that own horses are like hobby enthusiasts. You know, 200 years ago, a horse was a necessity. Now it's a luxury and a liability. 300 years ago, I was 3/5 of the man. 300 years later, I'm 2/5 of a man. I think black people's stock has gone down. Pretty sure of that. So you got to deal with the depreciating value of blackness in a whitewashing world. I was like, could you be a little less black? I was like, well, all right, I'll see what I can do, man. That's why other ethnicities, cultures, and races seem to do better than black folks in some aspects. some aspects, I gotta say in some aspects, because they don't have 300 years of history. They don't have resentment against the white man. They don't have the white man. They don't have a past with the white man. And even though their culture is different, they've kind of learned the law that we've had to learn the hard way. You got to be half as cultured. You got to be twice as good and half as cultural. Whatever you do in your country, you can't do that here. You're gonna have to tone that down a bit. Why didn't I go all the way down Lively? Oh, because it'll take me all the way back over to Park. And that, by the way, has something to do with white supremacy back there. The people who built these neighborhoods didn't want certain folks being able to walk and drive freely through it. So they broke up a lot of the streets. Like this is still kind of navigable. You can go up and down some of these streets and it'll connect you right away with, you know, the big major arteries like Midway and whatnot. But if I take Midway eastbound, suddenly it becomes a labyrinth. They knew what they were doing. They didn't want poor folks running through there gawking at their houses. They didn't want anybody driving through their neighborhood and creating a lot of noise. They sure didn't want anybody like me, or should I say my culture and what they think about the stereotype of my culture and color type going through that neighborhood. So they broke them all up. You gotta be better and humble. And the other cultures kind of figure that out. I say kind of figure that out because I wonder if Indians have as much of a hard time as black people do. When you got a last name and first name and a last name, they're 26 characters long, and everybody mispronounces it. Okay. Everybody mispronounces your name. Everybody serves you a dish that has meat in it, even though you've told them repeatedly that your culture doesn't believe in eating meat. If you're too Indian, you're going to catch some backlash. If you're half as Indian, we're cool with you. What's the dude's name? The guy who did the comedy thing. What was his name? Harold and Kumar. Kumar is easy to, you know, it's Kumar. Can't really screw that up too much. Kumar? It's Kumar. And then the Asian guy, to be even less Asian, names himself Harold. I was like, what's your real name? Sinew. Okay. I was like, alright, Harold, I get it. I get it. And a lot of Asian families, they don't even name their kid. It's like they give them the most anglicized name they can find. Oh. So you want to know how immigrants? It says, how come immigrants don't have the same problems that blacks do? Because you can tell by the person's name what they've given up to be here. Indian Christians get rid of their Hindu names, and they get European names. Daniel, Washington, Matthew, John, a lot of Johns. These are the last names. So unfortunately, if you want to make it in a white supremacist culture, although an improving white supremacist culture, you got to meet them halfway. Now, after 300 years of rape, cultural appropriation, and financial misappropriation, and disenfranchisement, and murder, and torture, and experimentation, and I mean, there's a lot of ands there. The African American culture is the most abused child on the planet. I was like, that's kind of a bold statement. I was like, I think I'm going to roll with it. It's like the Jews might have something otherwise. It's like the Jews have their own land. The Jews have their own language. The Jews have their own last names. The Jews still have a culture. Imagine if they didn't have any of that and they were also being subjected to genocide. People say, well, who's ever done genocide to the African American race? I was like, what do you think lynching was? When like 1 million to 3 million African American males just disappear overnight. The quiet thing that the United States doesn't talk about. That's the thing about this country, man. If they want you gone, you're gone. They do a really good job of eliminating things. Buffalo, gone. Native Americans, gone. African Americans for a while, gone. There was the Chinese Exclusion Act. The Irish for a while were gone. Like, as big as their numbers are in this country, they would have been bigger. Like the Chinese still don't, I mean, the Chinese still don't have much of a foothold in America. They could have. There could have been millions of them coming over after the building of the railroads. Did I say billions? I said millions. I thought I said millions. But it's going to happen now. Bottom line is the rich immigrants need a lobby. Maybe they already have one. That's why I don't particularly care if a bunch of poor, ignorant, sick Mexicans and Central Americans can't get into this country. They wouldn't want them here anyway. But if they can get their foot in the door, that's fine. If 1,000 rich Chinese can make their way over here and have instant citizenship, all for it. So I'm laughing to see all this Trump stuff going on, where it's like trying to restrict the amount of, in other words, trying to make homegrown whatever here. I'm like, good luck to you, but I think it's too late, too little, too late. Hard to tell what America's going to be because it's so chaotic as far as the economy is concerned. I got out of high school, my first job was working at UPS, part-time for a little bit better than minimum wage, $3 better than minimum wage. And I'm pretty sure they still pay $8.50 an hour. minimum wage has gone up to $7.25. I don't. I saw that and I thought that could have been a typo. I was like, this must be an old guide. I was like, no, it's still $7.25. I was like, what? I was like, who can live on that? Nobody. That's not the government's problem. The private sector will take care of that. Except that it won't, and it hasn't. Got a bunch of guys in Iowa right now complaining that nobody wants to take their minimum wage jobs picking crops. So they bitch and they complain. And ironically, they voted for Trump, and they're bitching and complaining that he's not letting enough migrant workers come over and do that menial labor. Like, it's kind of weird. I keep reading stories about how there's a glut of jobs in this country, but it's misleading because they're jobs that nobody wants. I worked a minimum wage job though. You know the cool thing about having a minimum wage job is, at least it was for me, if you got a minimum wage job and you don't really need it, I could have walked away at any time and I knew it. And that is a beautiful freedom to have. And that's the freedom that I wish was guaranteed in the Constitution. That you do not have to be stuck at a job that you don't want to have. Because miserable workers are not productive workers. But America doesn't care. It's like, as long as there's a body to fill that position, they seem happy. But the problem is that the bodies filling that position is not even doing 10% of the productive work. What's the point of having them? There are a lot of people that just phone it in. They tell you to report at a certain hour, you report at that certain hour, and you just kind of sit around for 1 hour because you hate your job. 2 hours, you hate your job. You do as little as you can. Go on break, just disappear. There are some people that work hard because they had that work ethic instilled in them. And that kind of points to what I was reading earlier. Every time man tries to think that it's not an animal, it does very animalistic things. I think they were talking about the participation rate in the United States is something like 25%. Like 25% of the people that live in this country actually work. And the ant kingdom is like that. People think that ants work 24/7. It's like, no, they don't. I was like, there's a few ants that work their ass off, and then everyone else just kind of lounges about. They're too old, or they're too sick to do anything, but they're still in the colony, or they're too young. And so when America starts losing those guys, and like I said, there's no statistic that's going to track that so far. There's no work ethic statistic. But I got a feeling that it is lowering. And that's what's going to... There are going to be a lot of people saying, you know, I don't work that hard because I don't want to. I don't care about Bible morals or utilitarianism or any of those, or social contract or any of the other bullshit that philosophers try to tell me about, or ethics guys. It's like, I just want mine. And I don't want to work hard for it. And that is your future workforce.